That's quite an introduction. So I'm Alex Beecham. I work at and then Northeast Region Director at Food and Water Watch. Food and Water Watch is a national consumer rights group fighting against the corporate control and abuse of our common resources. And I'm here because at Food and Water Watch we think this proposed privatization deal is a bad deal for Bethel, and so I want to urge folks to vote no on Thursday. I really think that a vote for this, a vote for privatization, is really a vote for higher rates and a vote to relinquish public control of the water system. And both of those things are bad for Bethel. As someone who works on this issue across the country and works against privatization, where they're trying to do this all across the country, we know the rates will go up. We just absolutely know it. In a recent analysis by Food and Water Watch, private companies raised rates by as much as 40% more than publicly operated systems. We absolutely know the rates will go up. And really, it shouldn't be surprising, right? There's two key disadvantages that private water systems have that public ones just don't have. The first is obviously, like any company, a private company wants to make money. That profit margin, above and beyond whatever it costs Aquarian or any other company to run the system, that profit margin comes from somewhere, and it comes directly from ratepayers. So you have to pay that, and we know that companies like Aquarian typically want 12 to 15% returns on the system. So you're paying that, but you're not just paying the profit, right? There's also another key disadvantage, which is that private companies are borrowing money to pay for the deal. So, not only are we paying the profit margin, but you're also paying for the financing. And you're doing it at a higher rate than you would if the public just took the loan, because private financing is much more expensive than public, and especially more expensive than municipal bonds. So you're paying more
salaries.
Exactly. So you're paying more for both of those reasons. But there's something else at stake here, and it's really the public control of our water system. Some things really deserve to be in public hands for the reasons that other speakers have brought up. For development issues, you relinquish your control over all of that the moment you sell the system away. And just in case people think that this is some faraway thing, and people have made mistakes elsewhere, but won't in Bethel, this issue is coming up in Connecticut right now. While we're talking, Aquarian, the company that's trying to buy this system, is seeking to raise rates in Connecticut by 18.3% of systems they already own. So what do you think is going to happen once they get Bethel's system as well? We know the rates will go up. And lastly, I'll just say that a decision to privatize is really an abdication of responsibility by local government. And we urge citizens to vote no to protect the water supply here and to save ratepayers money. And with that, I'll turn it back to Philly.
All the way from Texas. Now, somebody that grew up on Fleetwood Avenue, I consider him a dear friend and one of our favorite sons, Phil Gallagher, selectman, Board of Finance member, historian, Hibernian, everything.
All live. I just wanted to say a few words. I've been involved in town government off and on for the last 30-something years, and currently on the Board of Finance, and I knew nothing about the negotiations between the town of Bethel and Aquarian Water Company. Found out the day that the sale took place. The contract was signed on the 29th of April after a vote at a joint meeting of the Public Utilities Commission and the Board of Selectmen, which was held at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on April 29th.
Wrong.
Nobody was there from the public. When I was a selectman years ago, the Public Utilities Commission always met in the evening, so if townspeople wanted to come, they could come, but most people are working at that time of the day. April 30th, Aquarian issued a press release that they had bought Bethel's water supply, lock, stock, and barrel, and it seemed to be a done deal. The Board of Finance I was notified on Friday of a special meeting of the Board of Finance. Friday, May 5th, I was notified the meeting took place Tuesday, May 8th. They said I could have a written copy of the contract if I wanted one at the meeting. I was sent one on the internet. I downloaded it. It was 61 pages. Almost broke my printer. But I did download it and spent the weekend going over the contract. And I had a lot of questions on the Tuesday night meeting. And I won't go into all the questions because I would keep you another hour. Some of them I got answered to my satisfaction, some I did. One thing that stuck out at me is that the contract itself seems to be, and I was assured, basically I was right, it was a boilerplate contract that Aquarian uses to buy up water companies. The town council said there was some injection of his views into the contract. I really didn't see much. But another thing that's leaped out at me, the closing for the deal is not going to be held here in the town hall in Bethel. It was going to be held at Aquarian's lawyer's office in Hartford. And I asked, well, why can't you have it here? The townspeople wanted to see it. You know, I just got a shrug of the shoulders. Another thing that come out of that May 8th meeting is there was no intention of the selectmen, 3 selectmen, to send this to referendum. I asked each one of them individually that night they were there. None of them just kind of shrugged and said, well, we don't really have to. And I think by me asking, it kind of shamed them into putting it up to a referendum. Because I said, I'm stunned. I can't believe that you're not going to put this up to a referendum. So it is going to go to referendum, but they wanted to hurry the process along. Now, the Board of Finance eventually voted 4-3 to send this along, which it's one of the 2 boards that must review things before it can go on. But I said that this process is all turned upside down. I said the Board of Finance should hear from the public. There had been no public hearings, nothing at that point in time. In fact, the first public hearing was courtesy of the Bethel Action Committee when they held a hearing on June 10th? Sometime around there. Nothing up until that time. So the Board of Finance, despite we had another meeting on June 10th, we were able to table it until June 10th, or I think it was 11th actually. And we sent it was approved by a 4-3 vote, but still not benefit of a public hearing by the people of Bethel. And we finally did have a public hearing at the high school. It was quite well attended, and a lot of people with strong views showed up. Now, the more I've looked at this contract, the less and less that the reasons given by the administration in town are valid. For instance, the first night on May 8th when I reviewed it was said, well, they're going to pay $110,000 in taxes. As if that was a lot of money, considering we take in almost $60,000 a year. Million. 60 million, yeah. 60 million. But anyway, it eventually came out at the public hearing at the high school that the ratepayers will pay that, according to the man from the Public Utilities Commission in Hartford. Also, it was mentioned that the Aquarian had expertise, and I found out since the people who work for Aquarian have no more better certification than the people who work for the water supply in Bethel, who work for the Public Utilities Commission. They're all certified water workers. They're not any better prepared. Aquarian is presented as some kind of savior, but they say they have 690 or 50,000 customers, but actually that's people. You can figure 3 or 4 people to a house. Their number of customers, 193,000. Most of those are in the old Bridgeport hydraulic, which is what the Aquarian bought out. The rest of them are in these little scattered water supplies around the country. They have around the county, and they have no more actually expertise, I don't think, than the Bethel water workers, who are by the way, all could lose their job. They are guaranteed a job for a year, but there's no guarantee after that. So it's not a good deal for the people of Bethel, I don't think. And basically, the bottom line is we're selling for 370 acres of land, and we're selling 38 miles of water pipe, 3 reservoirs, pump stations for $7.2 million, which they say that's all they can get for it. I don't know, but it seemed to me it's worth a lot more than that, something that's been owned by the town since 1879.
CLMP all over again.
The another thing that they mentioned about the slipped my mind. I was going to the other thing, but I say it's not a good deal the way it is. The process hasn't been bad. It's been bad all along, and it's something that should not go forth at this point. Begin with, it looked like there was going to be bipartisan. This was going to be a bipartisan deal, and because there were some Republicans who have, were in favor of it on the boards, but from what I understand, the Democrats have formed a political action committee, and they're kind of like all in. And I kind of feel bad for the rank and file Democrats in Bethel, because this goes through, squeaks by. The Republicans aren't going to be blamed for it. It's going to be an albatross around the Democratic Party's neck for a generation, because when the planes start coming in and the performance promised doesn't happen and the land doesn't return, there's going to be hell to pay. So I know you got other people who want to speak, and I'm going to step aside, but please come out on Thursday if you're opposed to this and cast your vote no. Thank you.
Bill Gallagher. And now somebody whose name is known to one and all, He's one of the frontiersmen. He's shaking his head. Charlie Steck. Charlie, I gotta say something. He's one of our former selectmen, served 2 terms. He's here under the shade of the tree. He probably planned